You and Keemstar are really going at it on Twitter.
Yeah.
You really crossed the line.
You really crossed the line.
The comments are the most entertaining in all those tweets.
So the comments on Keemstar's, because he blocks so many people, it's just a bunch of dick riders on his, which is just he's such a coward little. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to get all worked up about him. But like
all the comments are just like, please stop.
Yeah. And then he blocks them all.
You're right.
So you have to understand. But I feel like I only react.
Yeah.
When he says shit, then like for the longest time I just let him say whatever he wants. But now I'm reacting to everything.
Right.
And I think it's great.
I mean, it's entertaining.
I mean, I'm really proud of this one from last night, which I have to say is going really well for me.
Does he filter the tweets
What happened last
before
night?
he posts them? Or is he
The one about two jackasses?
Oh.
I can tell that one really upset him because he's like, this morning he's going off. He made a poll that said, should I keep bullying age 3, yes or no?
Oh, wow.
Like bullying, bro. You're like fucking 40. How can you even... Garbage. So anyway, I think this one really upset him because it did so well. But I
don't really understand what
he thinks that this is really
It's so dumb.
He thinks that Hila, there's this thing that all really rude people say that Hila looks like a horse.
Okay.
Very rude. And so Keemstar thinks it's funny.
You look like a human.
No, she's very beautiful and doesn't look like a horse.
Well, and especially for a man to be like commenting,
It's
like,
crazy.
Gross.
It's so crazy.
You're so gross.
Yeah, and so he's tweeted at me literally 100 times.
But he thinks he's so slick because he just tweets pictures of a horse without saying what it is. So it's like certain people know what he's saying and certain people don't.
They'll just be like, "Oh, what
The
is
beard
it?"
is immaculate, though.
Looks
Yeah,
like he
did
dyed
he
it.
dye it
The
black?
sunglasses look like something my grandmother would wear.
That's true. He's got like the kind of vintage.
Uh-huh.
But he goes, it's a donkey. And he says, is this a horse, H3? And I said, all I see is two jackasses.
That's pretty good.
Right?
That's a good response.
Thank you. It really upset him.
How
I could
old
tell.
is he?
He's like 40.
Oh,
Wait, go to the
gross.
comments. I want to see all the people pleading.
No, I don't. I don't. Because look, as long as this guy, his whole timeline is full of shit about me. Like, let's go over here and just have a look.
That's all he has time for in his life.
By the way, this horse, you know what he was doing? He was at a petting zoo with his daughter, and he had made time to tweet at me like 5 times. He was at a petting zoo with his daughter.
There's a lot of real estate in his mind.
Dude, I'm just amused by it, and he's so upset.
You are a piece of fucking garbage.
Come on, Keemstar, give it a rest. He
You're
says,
a fucking hypocrite.
here, he sent me a DM.
Didn't he get banned from YouTube at one point a while back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they like circumnavigated that somehow?
So there's one, there's two.
You, there's you. Oh my god.
Here's me. Hey, Ethan, want to play Minecraft with me? He retweeted his own tweet because he thought it was good. And it's good. He does that sometimes. He says,
my
this
God,
one.
so
He said,
many.
which thumbnail should I use? He said, this one.
That's a nice picture, though.
Yeah, it's cool.
I like the horse with the hat. That was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm on his mind a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, then this one at the petting zoo, he goes, the sunset with my daughter, here trying to enjoy time with my daughter reminds me of something. And then he posted this.
Oh, Jesus.
Did he
That's
make
at
that?
least took some
There's
effort.
no way.
No, someone else made it.
Yeah.
He
I
posted it,
see,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I'm on his mind more than his own fucking daughter.
Apparently, that's really, really.
Oh, but that's just the
sad.
tip of the iceberg.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't understand that, and he's too old to be acting that way.
talk to Keemstar as a teacher. You spend a lot of time with children. Talk to him.
Do and children pick up on everything that their parents do and say. Like
You're a fucking hypocrite.
They do. They really do.
This is a lot of like negativity. Like there's so many like channels on YouTube that really, really like capitalize on like other people's problems. And
Yes.
stuff. And it's like it kind of makes me sad a little bit. You know, like there's it's like, oh, look at someone's down, like now is my time to like beat up on them. And yeah, exactly. And like that's fine.
Garbage.
But the problem is like when your paycheck is attached to it, then it's like, who am I going to bully this week?
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
Like, that's like you're allowed to be an ass to people. Like I don't care. But the problem becomes when it becomes your income. It's like now I have to be an ass, and I'm gonna like seek out the easiest targets for me to take down.
Absolutely.
Because I profit off of it, and it's like then you end up with that kind of broken loop where you're learning.
Yeah.
To pick on people.
Absolutely.
Like,
but here's the thing: is like. I ignore like 70% of it and I respond to like the 30%, which I think is funny.
Right.
Because at this point, the thing about Keemstar is that he's very dangerous because he is relentless and he will just he's very vindictive and he'll just say and do anything to
it kind of
harm
sees
you.
it as a little game for him. Like every time you look at his Twitter, every week it's someone else.
I think he's caused a lot
like,
of damage.
Cross line, but being on the receiving end, it's so damaging, and it's.
I mean, even like
it really can drive you crazy, and I'm not.
Yeah.
The thing is, he was always bringing up these new crazy things about me, like that I'm stealing money or that someone said this about, and just making shit up, lying, doing everything.
Right.
And then he's at the point where he literally exhausted everything to the point where he's going back at my old tweets and finding pictures of me with mud on my face from the Dead Sea in Israel and saying I'm doing blackface.
Right.
So it's like...
So he's spending a lot of time digging into your personal
it's not
life.
just him. And he's also weaponizing his following.
Right.
With every tweet, he's showing them, like, send me more, you know?
But yeah, I think he's very dangerous.
To live your life.
He's dangerous, and and I think he's very damaging to the community as a whole.
You know, even like there's no like real rebuttal for an accusation. Like even if you completely prove any innocence or anything, like people will always have that in their head. And a lot of people might not even see the rebuttal because the rebuttal is not interesting. Like Miranda Sings, like she just dealt with some stuff, and like it sounded bad from the outside. And I started watching it, and then it didn't really seem that bad. I didn't really understand what the big hype was. It was just kind of like an awkward relationship. Yeah.
So this dude, so this dude made this video exposing her, and he's like, "Oh, she sent me lingerie when I was a kid," and I was like, "Oh, that's so weird." But when she explained it, I was like, "Oh man, he totally fucked her."
Right, because I've like like when we do stuff, like I'll just send crap to people. Like I've literally sent like a piece of plywood in the mail to somebody.
That's what she was doing.
It's just
underwear was like part of his stream, and it wasn't used or anything, which is such a big difference.
Yeah, it was something they just.
He said I never even touched it or opened it from the bag, like as if this was something that was used and is gross.
And I think he'd even like asked for it or wanted it.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's like not saying that was the smartest thing she could have done, but like my thoughts before that, like having heard it, was much worse than after the fact. And like how many people.
And that's what he does. Like he put out a video, which was kind of one of the motivating factors for me making my initial videos. I don't know how much you followed this. Probably not.
No.
Yeah. Good for you.
Yeah.
You're better off.
I was teaching online.
That's probably
it's very
that is a way less better use of your time. So he puts out that that I'm stealing money from a collab we did with a video game company that what I was supposed to donate to charity.
Right.
And I get the guy on the phone and I say, he's like, that's not true. And that video's still up and people still believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think that somebody who's willing to just lie to that capacity, who presents themselves as news, is a real danger.
So does YouTube care or like look in any of this? Or it's like I'm assuming he wouldn't be invited to like VidCon.
It's complicated because I think like the instant YouTube starts like pushing buttons behind the scenes, I mean people lose their mind thinking that you're convincing them to push.
Yeah, I took a picture with Susan like 2 years ago.
Which to me is comical because like they don't give a.
They don't
care at all.
They think I have Susan on speed dial.
So that's only lately, like in the past week or two, I'm starting to understand also that this is kind of dipping into anti-Semitism too, because all of a sudden I'm getting all these racist comments on my stuff, and then it's like when you connect the dots, they're saying that Ethan is greedy, he's always about the money, and now he's running
a conspiracy
behind the scenes with the CEO of YouTube. Like that's.
Yeah, and well, if you say that, people will take it wrong. But Keemstar literally tweeted.
People will take it.
Keemstar tweeted out like 2 days ago. Ethan is the George Soros of YouTube.
Right.
I mean, that is an anti-Semitic conspiracy.
Also, I want to raise if you got George Soros money.
What's that?
He wants a raise.
I want to. If you got George Soros money, it's fucking pony up, man.
How much is George Soros worth?
He's like a multi-billionaire, right?
I don't know anything about him.
I wish YouTube was more like the early days when everybody was like there was less money involved. People were more like creative. Like we want to be filmmakers. They saw TV and they're like, oh, we want to do skits and special effects and comedy and blah blah blah. I'm like that's like when I made YouTube videos early on. Like we'd watch like Corridor Digital, Freddie W. to Shay Carl, who's sort of, I guess, fallen from graces in the past couple of years. Kasim G, you know, like all of these genres that are just like having fun and like doing skits and like making content. And it seems like now there's this huge population of content that's just like, what's something that we can shit on?
It's meta content.
Yeah.
It's not real content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And like some of it is more like, you know, like criticisms of pop culture, and I think that stuff is fine. But then you get like the real dark stuff where it's like attacks on people's personalities, and a lot of this stuff ends up being like speculation. Right. I mean, even like the whole thing with iDubbbz, Ian, where you're just like, what is going on?
The simp thing?
The simp?
Like it was it was purely entertainment for people. Like nobody actually cares.
Yeah.
It was like a Britney Spears moment where they're like, let's just go all in and like watch this spectacle unfold.
So insane.
It was so, I felt bad for how everyone just was like, who gives a fuck if it doesn't affect anything.
Right.
But I think honestly, I think another problem is that there's like a really large, I think there's some kind of weird political movement online where it's like the people who walk around saying cuck that actually think that's funny.
Right.
I mean, people who say cuck and soy boy unironically. There's a lot of people on YouTube. And they're the people that think that iDubbbz is a cuck.
Right.
And they think that is an actual insult.
That's a better word
because I
than
didn't know
simp,
what
though,
that
for
meant.
Like the accusation, well, because that was like the main accusation was simp, right? And it didn't even make sense.
Simp doesn't make sense at all because he's getting it.
Yeah.
A simp is someone who pays and doesn't get it.
Right.
He doesn't pay and
so
gets
it's
it.
just like the whole thing was just like, let's light something on fire and watch what happens.
But cuck also, I guess cuck does make more sense, even though
But not really.
It still doesn't, and it's
it
like,
doesn't really make
doesn't,
any sense either. Yeah, neither of those labels work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very strange, and I don't know. Like some days when things go on, and you've never had anything like severe, but
I don't poke.
I just
hard.
can't imagine having to like live in that fear of like, oh my gosh, like he did nothing, and then all of this happened for no choice.
A lot of people forget that you're like a real person.
Yeah,
too.
he
And
made no choices.
Yeah.
It was his, had nothing to do with it.
I've been feeling like that for years.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like meeting Ian for the first time, he's like a drastically different person than you would think.
Yeah.
I think the problem is like the audience sort of like has, you know, like
He's an edgelord. He's
like,
one of them.
When you're like making a graph in science, you call it like extrapolation, where it's like you have these 2 points of like what you think is going on, like what you know is going on, and then you just sort of go beyond that. And that's what people have done is they sort of see this thing that Ian is, and they sort of just assume outside of what they've seen, like who he is as a person.
Yeah.
And then when he does something that sort of counters that, or maybe he like changes or learns something new, or had a debate with somebody where he, realized maybe he was thinking about something wrong. And then he changed his opinions, and now all of a sudden everybody is like freaking out.
He's not like us.
Yeah.
I think the same thing happened to me is that like back in the day we were doing all these, like it was really making fun of social justice warriors was like the fun thing to do. And there was so much good content and they were so fun to make fun of. And it's not necessarily a partisan thing, but it did court a lot of very conservative edgelords who actually hate women and are actually, I would say, toxically conservative.
Right.
I mean, I'm not. That's not a critique of like conservatism. It's more like people who are like incels and hate women and think that people who are sex workers are like immoral, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I courted a lot of these people, and I think that's a lot of the people who are angry at me today is because I think I did make a conscious effort throughout the past several years to kind of make it very clear that I do not share the same values as these people.
Yeah.
Right. And when you're making content, though, it's just sometimes hard. Like you're trying to be entertaining, and sometimes poking buttons and like poking and stuff like that is entertaining. And then people take it too seriously.
Yeah.
Like it's like consumed literally. Like this is exactly what you think. Like this is not a joke. And then you start like filling in the outside of like coloring outside the lines of who that person is. And it just I don't know. They don't realize like at the end of the day like I have problems too. And like there's stuff I struggle with, and there's stuff I yeah exactly like. I don't understand half of the stuff I do and how people interpret it. I'm just like, okay, I'm going to try to be creative today and see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's like, I think the original, like early on when like the first podcast where people are all upset, like to me, it's like, I see that as the same thing. It's like a content production thing where it's like, we're making content. What do people want to see?
Yeah.
You make a decision. And at the end of the day, people treat it as like some malicious attack where like your intents were to do a bad thing. And it's like, no, you're just making stuff for people to consume. And sometimes you
people have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, no idea what goes into editing, no idea what goes into just to making a video. People think you just turn on your camera, you press record, you press stop, you upload it to YouTube. Like, that's it. And it's like, there's so much more. And that is not well known or really spoken about. And so then the people just demand, and they think that they can just get everything like that. It's absolutely not the reality of being a YouTuber.